YouTube, what is going on? We are back with a Greenlight themed video. Now, I do have 6 cars that are on the way. 4 of them coming from Hong Kong and China. 2 of them are coming from Canada. Most of them are at customs or very close to hitting customs. So I would say I should have those in about a week, but that's going to be a cool video if you like premium detailed, like super premium replica import models, then that'll be a video to look out for. All right, so this video is a Greenlight theme, and it's basically something I talk about a lot on my videos. I post a lot about it on Instagram, but I've never gone into any depth with it. So when I buy a Greenlight car, 9 out of 10 times, I'm changing the wheels. I'm either wheel swapping it, tire swapping it, or painting the wheels. This is a good example of that. This casting, the stock wheels look terrible. Some of the worst looking wheels in 1:64 scale. Honestly, I think a Hot Wheels 5-star wheel would look better than the horrible looking spoked wheels that they made for this. So this is just an example of what you can do. These are Ford Mustang GT wheels from Greenlight. So that's one thing with all my Greenlight. I keep the wheels Greenlight. I don't put any other brand of wheels on my Greenlight cars. And yes, these are a Ford wheel, but it's a spoked wheel. It's generic enough that it could, I mean, obviously, as you can see here, it doubles as a nice spoked wheel. So that's one example of it there. Another example is this El Camino. Now, these wheels, they are the wheels that came with it, but the stars were black with a chrome lip and a chrome outline. The problem is the black would bleed into the chrome and they looked terribly sloppy. So what I did is I pulled the tires off, I taped off the car, and I sprayed them with Tamiya. I think it's the TS32. And so you do change the look of the wheel, but it looks better in my opinion. And if nothing else, it's a clean look. In fact, when I got done doing this, I liked it so much that I bought another El Camino to take the wheels off of it so that I could put the wheels on a Caprice. And pretty happy with the way that came out. I do need to find some better tires for it though. That's one thing with the El Camino is I did switch the tires out. So these are not the tires that go with the wheels. And you can see how much better. See if I can get it in the light. You can see how much better the lower profile looks. And it's not that much smaller, but when you're dealing with this size, you're talking about even just 1 or 2 millimeters making all the difference that you need. So there's a couple examples. Another example is this casting. This one comes, these are the stock wheels, but the tires on this car are the smaller off-road tires from Greenlight, and it looks terrible. It looks disproportionate. So all you really have to do with this casting is just pull the tires off and put the bigger tires on. The bigger tires are very easy to find from Greenlight. They're in many of the wheel accessory packs. They're on plenty of castings. So very easy to find. Yes, you might have to spend $5 or $6 on a car or a wheel pack. I would personally sacrifice another casting for stuff like this. That's why I have a lot of extra parts laying around that we're going to get to. But another thing about this casting is the wheels are chrome from the factory. And I'm not a big fan of chrome in 1/64. So I didn't paint these wheels. I just gave them a shot of matte clear coat from Tamiya. So I pulled the tires off, taped the truck off, and then just sprayed the wheels with a matte coat. And it dulls it down to make it look more like a silver, which I think looks a million times better than the chrome. I'm just not a fan of chrome in 1/64. It's part of why Auto World cars look so nice. People don't talk about this, but a lot of it is because they don't use chrome. Since we're at it, I'll give you guys a quick example of that with this car. I wasn't going to do this, but since I brought it up, here's the new Lincoln Continental from Auto World. Part of why their cars look so clean and so good is look at the bumper. They don't use chrome. They use silver. Now they do use chrome for the wheels, and honestly, I would prefer that they didn't. But at least for like all the trim on their cars, they don't. They use just silver, and it looks so much better in this scale. Now the wheels on this thing, that's a whole other story. This is an unbelievable execution on these wheels, and this is an awesome casting, but it's for another video. But just an example of silver looking better in 1/64 scale. You don't see a ton of super premium brands use a lot of chrome. Another example of it is if you look at M2 cars, they use a ton of chrome, and they look cheap and they look really bad, in my opinion. So with this, all you got to do, you don't need to dull the wheels down. I know a lot of you do like chrome wheels, but you do need to switch the tires out at the very least. Put the bigger tires on. And also, I glue my tops on. I can't stand the loose top on this. This one, the Blazer, which we're going to look at here too. So here's another example, same casting. This is the more advanced type of stuff you can do with Greenlight. And this is just dustied up off-road custom. Parts are taken, the bumper and the rack are taken from another Ford Bronco that was a Greenlight all-terrain release. And the shovel, the gas cans were taken from it's either a Johnny or it might have been an Auto World. They use them for both. And then the jack on the side here was taken off of a Johnny Lightning Toyota Land Cruiser. I need to pull the antenna off and replace it. That's so out of scale, it looks terrible. But this is just another example. Minimal work, minimal supplies. All you need is masking tape, an X-Acto knife, some weathering pigment, and some matte clear coat. And some super glue. That's all you need. All of this stuff, it's all super glued on. It stays on just fine. Never had any issues with any of it. So another example there. And I started, see what happened was I bought the Tamiya weathering master because, I like the way some of these cars look out of the package, but I also like the way they look when they look like they are old and have been driven. Here's an example of a Greenlight car that I did quite a bit to this one. So if you look at this car from the package, this is a Greenlight all-terrain release. Go look at it in the package and then look at this one. Night and day difference. First thing I do, I pull the wheels and axles off, and then I glue some aluminum tubing down. That creates the lift for you. And then with this one, I got these Chevy wheels out of, and it was an old Chevy wheel accessory pack. I don't think you can find it anymore. But they ended up looking really good on this K5. So I went ahead and used them. And then again, I glued the top down. And that's pretty much all that I did to it. And then I weathered it. And then the other day, I was kind of playing around because I had this spare tire rack that I had taken off of a Dodge Ram Charger. And I thought, man, that looks really good on the K5. And I don't think Chevy did this. I don't think they had a spare tire rack on the back. I think they were all inside or maybe up underneath. But I don't ever recall seeing a K5 with the spare on the back. But, you can buy those spare tire racks after market. So I don't think it's that far-fetched. And, once I put the rack on top and the spare on the back, I just thought it looked really good. So I went ahead and glued it all down. And this is a more scale appropriate antenna. Although I could take one or two of those wires out just to keep it a little bit thinner. So note to self. So that's it. Lifting these is really easy if the base doesn't have a differential on the axle. As long as the axle is flat, or it doesn't even need to be flat, but as long as it's symmetrical across between the two wheels, you can glue some aluminum tubing down and you can do a lift. Most of the castings, it looks pretty good. The new Jeep Cherokee does not look good, so I wouldn't recommend doing that one. But when I got done with this, I thought, now that I have a nice dusty off-road Bronco and a nice weathered off-road K5 Blazer, now I need a dusty off-road Ram Charger. So, same thing with this. Aluminum tubing for the lift. Just glued down. These are the wheels and tires that came on this truck. That might not be the tires. It might come with the smaller tires, but it is the wheels. So didn't do much there. And this isn't the Ram Charger that had the spare. This one doesn't come with the spare tire rack. But this one, this is the one I got the spare tire rack off of. I bought this casting when it came out, and the top of the windshield was bent all the way down, so it was totally useless. So I stripped it for parts. I still have the top for it. I took the wheels off of it. I took the hitch, the spare tire. I took all of that off of it. And so that's why I had that spare tire rack laying around. But this one I also lifted. So it's just aluminum tubing and the bigger tires. These are not the wheels that came with it. In fact, the wheels that came with it are these wheels here. but it was a smaller tire. So I went ahead and just put a matching full-size spare on the back there. And to do that, I did have to take the spare tire rack off, but it was pretty easy to do. Actually, I didn't. Actually, the wheel came off of the rack. So, but there was a lot involved with this one because the problem with this one is this red top is translucent. Like you can see through it. And that really bugged me. So what I did is I painted the inside of it black. And that stops you from being able to see through it. But what it also does is when you matte coat it, it looks quite a bit different. Camera doesn't really pull it up, but still looks good, I think. But there was a lot of work that went into this. And then I glued the top down because, as I said, I'm not a fan of loose tops. But when it came to doing my off-road truck, I just didn't think that the red and white one was the right casting for it. So I opted for the Mopar lime color. And I'm very happy with the choice. I like both trucks. I think they both look pretty cool. But this color here, I remember seeing it in the package at the store when it came out, and I'm like, that thing is so ugly. Then I bought one a couple months later and opened it up and lifted it and glued the top down, and it looked really good. So it really is a nice looking truck. And it's going to be one of those ones, if you speculate on Greenlight castings, this is going to be one of the castings that's going to be expensive in a year. I've done a little bit of that. There are 5 castings that I have purchased carded examples of just to keep carded. 4 of the 5 that I did that with they're all over $30, and it's the Ford Lightning, the All-Terrain GMC Jimmy, the Vintage Ad Crown Vic. That thing is it's way up there in price, and you can't find it anywhere. And also this one here, this one went up in value way quicker than I thought it would. This is already a $30 truck. So this one will be one of those castings. This one could be, by the way, this one also comes with a snowplow on the front. So anyways, I opted for this one, and it's a Johnny Lightning / Auto World Safari Rack. I did pull one of the gas cans off because I like to use the gas cans on other off-road customs that I do. I think the gas cans look good. And to do that, it's pretty easy. You just take an X-Acto knife and work your way in between. And then up underneath the rack, you can, like the bottom of it is almost welded to the plastic. You can just slice that off, and they come off pretty easy. So, but that's pretty much it. The one thing about Greenlight is even if they release a crappy looking car, they're almost always good blank canvases. The only exception, there are some, I shouldn't say it's the only exception, but like a good example of an exception is the Nissan 240Z. There's no amount of skill in the world that's going to make one of those castings look good. But castings like the K5 Blazer, if you get one of these with the stock stance, they look terrible. But the casting is nice enough that if you do a little bit of work to it, you can actually make them look pretty good. This one, when it's not lifted, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look terrible, but it doesn't look great. And so that's one thing about the Bronco that Greenlight really did, is they got the stance on it right. Because that's the stock stance. You don't need to lift this one. So these are the three main cars or trucks, I should say, that I wanted to show in the video. So that's it. Greenlight, if you don't like what you get out of the package, it only takes a little bit of work to make their cars look really good. And here is one of my favorites, the vintage ad Chevy Caprice. So there you go. So another week or so, stay tuned for some really cool stuff. And when I say really cool stuff, I mean stuff that you just don't see every day. And it's possible that some of those cars, actually they've all probably been reviewed on YouTube, but none of the major diecast channels have reviewed any of them, I don't think. So stay tuned for that, and also do some more diorama videos down the road too. I got more asphalt material, so I'm good to go there. I just re-upped on a bunch of supplies, wood glue, brushes, paint. So I'm good to go for a couple more. And if any of you are local in the Phoenix area and you're interested in buying the car dealership diorama, message me on Instagram, because I am going to be selling that. So, all right, that's it. I'll talk to you all at the next video.